Good morning, Larry.
Hey, morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Fine.
What do you got today for us?
Oh, a couple fun things. Microsoft had a big event, one of their big workplace called the Build Conference this week, and one of the big things everyone's talking about is they had a workplace demo that looked like a construction site.
Okay.
And in the construction site, they're using computer vision in order to see everything that's going on in the construction site. This is the same technology that's being used for driverless cars, being able to recognize objects, recognize people.
Right.
But it's applied to the workplace. So what's amazing about this, imagine you're working in your shop, your woodworking shop,
Right.
and all of a sudden you need a very specific tool. As long as you've basically shown the computer the tool and inventoried it with the system,
Right.
it will say it's in the third drawer.
No
you know,
way.
over here.
No way.
Go grab it.
So if I misplace my hammer,
It will show you exactly where your hammer is. It can actually see it, recognize the object, tell where it is in space. Now, what's also amazing is it tracks people perfectly. And in this specific example where they're on a construction site, it actually can do things like monitor OSHA regulations. So at one point in time, they have a jackhammer sitting upright on its end,
Right.
which is against OSHA regulations because it could fall over. So, but the system, once they turn on object recognition, sees that, identifies the policy violation, and immediately text the closest worker that they need to go move that.
Way.
So, I mean, certainly online, some people have gone and said, oh, this is kind of creepy. It's, the internet micromanaging you and things like that, computers micromanaging you. But the way it's used here for workplace, it could be a lot of benefit to a
well,
lot of people.
if I can have somebody tell me where I put my tape measure, that'll save me at least 6 hours a day in the shop.
Well, and you can see where this technology is going. So not only is it going to be used in cases like this or cases like an inventory at a place like Best Buy or in a Walmart, it is also going to be in shopping. You can imagine a day where you have one security worker watching everyone in a big shopping grocery store,
Right.
and they could see everyone pushing the cart and see exactly what's in their cart next to them in real time because it's able to recognize the difference.
So literally you could check out with just a beep.
You could just walk through, and there's actually cases of this already happening and working.
Right. I know
out there.
Amazon's trying to do something
Amazon's
like
done some of these in Seattle, but this is an example I think is really, really neat for inventory, for workplace management.
that. You walk into a
all sorts of
supermarket
stuff.
and just say, where's the mayonnaise? And they would point you right to the mayonnaise.
Heck, you could pull up your phone and it'll probably direct you to the mayonnaise, like a GPS. So I think that's more where we're going.
All right.
cool.
What's that called? Microsoft Workplace?
It was at the Build Conference. It was a workplace demo. Really,
Okay.
this is not necessarily going to be a product. What it was done, it's for all the developers. And
Gotcha.
It's given
Oh,
us kind of
to show you
it's
what you
saying,
can
hey,
do.
this is what you should do. This is kind of an example, and they put out some of the code.
All right.
But very, very neat kind of
All right.
Wow.
pathway to the future there.
That's one. What's NASA
This
doing?
next one's kind of interesting. NASA announced plans to build what they're calling and it sounds very futuristic, a deep space gateway. And basically, it's
I saw that movie.
it's like a vehicle garage and almost like a hotel, if you will, for people going to Mars. And it's between the Earth and the Moon, so they can park vehicles there, dock them with this, like almost like a small space station. And they're saying that people could stay there for up to 1 month.
What you're saying is basically, they're building a ride-share parking lot in space?
In space between the Earth and the Moon, so that they can have kind of as a jumping-off point for all astronauts to go to the Moon.
Shouldn't
to Mars.
Shouldn't it be closer to Mars? It seems like it's just like just a block down the street if it's by the moon.
It's probably like a way to set up. They can do all their setup there. If they have to abort, they can come back at that point in time. And the biggest problem is fighting gravity. There, they don't have to fight gravity. They can do the setup, and they can use a lot less fuel, essentially, to fire off in the right vector at the right time.
Are they doing this now? Is this?
Yeah, it's actually in the plans. They've got plans starting in 2026 to 2033. That's when, or actually now to 2026, we're going to start building it and start putting the plans in place. 2026 is when they want it done. And this is all to kind of correspond with NASA's plan to put men actually on Mars in 2033.
2033 is the
kind of the
goal
current plan.
to put a human on Mars
As opposed to all the robots we have currently
in 2033,
around
which is
that.
really not that far away.
No, it isn't.
Is it 16 years away?
Well,
Is
and it
that-
requires a lot of work every single year to get to that point. So they have to start essentially now to get to it.
Is 2033 16 years away?
Yeah.
That's not that far.
That's not that far.
No.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Less than 20
Yeah.
years.
By the way, you mentioned from the Earth to the Moon was a T. Oh, you want to mention this Amazon thing
I
real
was just
quick?
I know we talk about the Echo, Amazon Echo,
Yeah.
and Google Home and things like that. Well, Amazon announced a brand new Echo device coming out here, I believe, June 26th.
It looks awesome.
Called the Echo Show, and basically it's just like the Amazon Echo we've all know and love, except it has a screen on it. You might ask yourself why. One thing we were thinking is, well, if you want to ask it how to tie a tie, it could visually show you how to tie a tie or show you.
You can also do video conferencing or video
Sure.
calls.
Yeah, just what I need in my life though is another camera pointed at me. But
You mentioned
It's coming.
you mentioned From the Earth to the Moon.
Yeah.
That is the name of a television show. It was on HBO a couple years ago, produced
Hanks.
by Tom Hanks. It was a 9-part series about how they went from the Earth to the Moon. And for some reason, it's not on HBO on demand. You can't find it. I had to go to Amazon and buy the discs, believe it or not, old
wow.
school. But it is worth every penny. It is so fantastic. It's From the Earth to the Moon. It's 9 episodes, and one is better than the next. And it explains the scientists how they came up with the landing gear, how somebody came up with the rover. What happened, when this happened? And so they were landing on. You'll like this as an engineer. They were landing on the moon, and Neil Armstrong's like, "We got an abort sign, and they're 10 yards from the Earth or from the moon." And so they go down, and all the engineers are freaking out, and the one engineer says, "Tap on the glass." So they. Okay, the light went off. And they're landing on the moon, and they had to jiggle the cord.
well, when you look at the technology they used to land on the moon, it's
Right.
frightening by today's standards. A tin can with some wires.
Crazy stuff. All right, thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
9:57.